first memory? Was it aviation or photography? What did you go to first?
That's a good question. It was obviously
Mm.
aviation. I remember when I was a kid, like we like normal guys. Obviously, the information was not there as it is there today. Like there was no internet that time when I was a kid, and so it was just purely based on like whatever we saw. So yeah, I started off with like interest in cars. I used to kind of look up some car magazines, but
Mm.
then when my eyes like, and then obviously you have the cartoons like Tintin and Asterix
Yeah.
and Obelix, and then but when my eyes kind of fell on the Commando comics, it was kind of an instant love, and that the sketches of all the Spitfires, Hurricanes, Messerschmitts, all that tangling in the skies and all that, that just hit a spark somewhere. And my plan A was to like generally join the Air Force, but that didn't pan out. So then it was like again there was like nothing to photograph when in my time when I was there till like 1999. There was no air shows or whatever that used to happen in Bombay or Mumbai now when I used to go up. So I just used to
Still,
read.
still, still, none of them happened there. Just
Well, at least you have that gateway of India, something happening over there,
yeah,
once a
yeah,
year, whatever, right? So due to the Navy or whatever it is. So at least you have some action. So previously, I didn't have any like during my time. There was no avenues of information, nothing to shoot. Everything was kind of expensive because we were kind of like middle class. We were not like rich or super rich or whatever.
yeah,
To afford cameras, and then at that time it was film. So you need to get the film. You need to shoot. Then you need to develop the film and all that stuff. So things were pretty expensive. But then um, the photography kind of world started when like the actual photography, the first book that ever inspired me was a book by, and I still have the book. It's called Ace is High. I know it's just uh, a book thing. Let me see if I can have the main title. It's by Bernard Fitzsimmons and someone else. Here, if you can see that book, and Walter Point.
that's okay.
So that was like the book, and I don't know, it was like 1989 or 1990 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I got that book, and it's just photographs. It's like previously I was like nerdy. I used to read about a lot of stuff, the technologies, weapon systems, tactics, and all that. But this book was like, it's just photography, different angles, different lightings, all that stuff. So that was the first inspiration. But then the actual execution on that front was in 1999 when I came to the US as part of my company's, transfer. And my house, my apartment was on the flight path of the C-130s out of Moffett, and the
That's
129
nice.
rescue wing. Yeah, the HH-60s and C-130s, they used to like bounce in the pattern. And I was like, wow, this is the first time I'm actually seeing a military aircraft, like right over my head.
Yeah,
And in a couple of months, there was an air show. Like I came here in May, I think, and there was like June or July, there was an air show at Moffett, and where all these fighters that I just had seen or read about, they were actually there for me to touch and feel and talk with the pilots and all that, and that was a pretty awesome experience. And I think
yeah,
that's where the photography aspect started.
yeah. That's great. But like just going back, most of the people first move into spotting. Obviously, you had that opportunity where you had seen military aircraft flying directly over your head and
Mm-hmm.
over your apartment. You're seeing them in a pattern every day.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people go to spotting or they just stick to airline spotting,
Mm.
and maybe they don't get an opportunity to like move to such a specialized, such a niche kind of photography, which is like military aviation photography. How did
Right.
you decide that I just want to stick to this and not airline spotting?
I think I was never into like airliners, or I was never into numbers. So I know like for the spotters, it's the numbers that gives them a high.
Mm.
But for me, like just getting a number off of a plane, no, it's not my type. It's not my cup of tea. Whatever. For me, It's more like the actual, I don't care about the numbers. I care about the airframes, the different types of airframes, different lights. So it's more about the
Yeah.
photography and the airframe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
nothing against the spotters. I know a lot of spotters, so nothing against the spotters. It's a different thing, and it takes a lot of patience to do that kind of stuff. I've tried
Hey,
it. It doesn't work for me.
for me, it is to each his own, right?
Yeah.
If you get a high on spotting, sure, yeah, then that's your, game. For me, it's not that. It's different. So.
Yeah. So you moved to the US in '99,
Hmm.
and by what time were you seriously into photography, and like how did you start? Did you like just buy a camera and just get about it, or what?
Yeah, so like that 1999, I just had I had a small Minolta camera with the standard lens that came, and
Yeah.
I took
Yeah.
some photographs. Like nothing like what I'm doing right now. It was just started, right? You just put it on auto, whatever it is. I didn't know anything about cameras. I didn't know anything about compositions, lighting, nothing, right? I just went there because I just love the airplanes. So I think the serious thing started in like 2000, I think 7 onwards. There was
Okay.
some forays into like local air shows in 2005, and then the one thing here, which was like at that time, obviously, I got exposed to the thing called internet, right here, which was much more accessible, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a whole lot of like at that time in the absence of Facebook and all that, there were like forums. So there was one forum which was called fencecheck.com, and that
Yeah.
was pretty pretty great, photographers there, and from every levels, different levels, from beginners to out there, being that done that, doing that, and whatever, been there, done that kind of things. So there were like a lot of stuff going on, lot of learnings, lot of chats, a lot of knowledge share between the group. So I kind of picked up some of the techniques from there. Um, then some of the tips for like the gear, how to upgrade the gear and all that. So kind of started with like 84, like renting 8400, lenses, and then kind of like said okay, 2000, 6, 7. I went to like air shows. I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to keep doing this, so I might as well buy the lens, right, instead of
Yeah.
renting it. So then, did bought it off like eBay, whatever, 8400 lens, and then obviously I had friends. There was like one guy called Glenn Blur, and there was Larry Grace. They're still out there doing their stuff, but
Okay.
they were really like kind of behind me, like, hey, upgrade your gear. You need to have that 200, 400. That's a great lens to have and all that. So save the for that 200, 400. And I think 2000 started shooting raw instead of JPEGs. And
Yeah.
then back and forth between me and Glenn, between how to editing techniques, right? Because you might get the greatest shot ever, like perfectly composed, perfectly settings, and sharp shot, but that's half the battle. And to really make the picture pop, you need to have editing skills. It's not just like you might be the best cameraman out there, but you need to have like some editing skills to make it pop. So kind of knowledge here on that, and that's how it kind of started 2007, 2008, with all the air shows going on, especially here in the US. There are like a whole lot of air shows. So I went to a lot of air shows between 2006 and 8. 8, obviously there was a red flag and all that stuff was going on. So got an opportunity to mix it up with the Indian Air Force guys coming in at Mountain Home and then Nellis. But then yeah, that's how kind of the journey started.
Were the Indian Air Force, the one with the Indian Air Force, was that your first book, first publication?
Yeah, yes, that was my first publication, and that was again collaboration with Kapil Chandni, who was out of Mumbai. He was kind of running the BharatRakshak.com site at that time, and it was just a discussion again out of like nowhere. I didn't have like plans for a book or whatever, but like, hey, let's do one. And 2009 Aero India was just around the corner, so we were like, okay, let's get this thing rolling.
Yeah.
So and then kind of that brings in and forth the power of the technology, because I am here in the US. in San Jose. He's in Mumbai. The printer was in Pune. So with
Yeah.
all these things, managing time and managing
Yeah.
communication, yeah. But
Yeah.
we managed to like make that book, and then we opened it in Aero India 2009.
Because I remember when we met back in October of 2012,
Mm-hmm.
like you say that book you showed us was the first aviation photography book we ever had.
Yeah.
Your book was the first aviation oriented book I ever read, the Red Flag book. So
Mm.
before that, I had no idea. I mean, I
Yeah.
had a couple of Air Force's monthly magazines and all these things, but you never understand uh, what it takes to be airside and people shooting and all these things. Because your books involve a lot of the human component, the human factor as well, not just the aircraft or the technology of the
Right.
aircraft. So
Right. Right. Yeah. That's
you,
so one of the things that I've learned over the period of time. Right. It's not just aircraft. It's how to even there are human aspects to it. So that all
yeah,
makes up.
yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. So I have been so this was your first airside experience, the red
Which
flag at
one?
08, the red flag in 08.
Oh no. No, no, no. There were others before that. Like there were. I think it all started in 2000. What was that? There was the first photo call at Naval Air Facility El Centro, which was organized by
Mm.
Fence Check. Again,
Mm-hmm.
like there were like very few guys, like maybe 6 or 7 guys at that time.
Mm.
Like compared to like right now, almost like in good times, like almost what 100 to 200 people show up for the photo calls right now that
Holy crap.
El Centro organized. But during this was like I think 2007 or something, and it was just like a few of us, like Roger Kemp who ran the fence check side, Glenn, I think Richard Vandermillen, um, Jonathan Durden, and then Jason Hyatt, and then a couple of others. I think Kevin Whitehead was also there. These are all like kind of guys that I follow because their stuff is also unique. So, but
Mm.
then yeah, that was my first airside experience. Going on a photo call on a base visit. That was at El Centro. Then it was at I think the next organized one was at Fallon, I believe. Top Gun. You know,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, that those were my first airside experiences. Uh,
Mm. Mm. And then see a lot of people think that you know that me being in India, a lot of restrictions over here. But in the
mhm.
US, the aviation industry, the whole entire community is so huge and it's accessible. But a lot of people in India and a lot of people outside of states, they might
Mm.
think that it's really, really accessible and anybody can go and do it. And what's the big deal? But people maybe sometimes don't think about the work that goes behind the scenes and the
Right,
struggles
right.
you have to do to get there. It's
Oh
like
yeah, oh yeah.
sometimes, yeah. So sometimes just people think that, oh, it's easy. I mean, he has great access, so the great photos are going to happen anyway. I mean, it's no
Yeah,
work. So
it's not
how would
exactly
you,
a walk in the park, basically.
yeah, yeah, how do you address those questions, you know?
No, so I think like it used to be, I think, a walk in the park. If I believe some of the really old timers, like sometimes you come across stuff like you keep talking to people, you keep meeting people, you visit a lot of air shows or whatever, and
Hmm.
there are those guys who have been there, done that, and still doing it. And they have stories where yeah, we were like outside Moffat and we were just taking photos, and then one of the military police came by and said, "Hey guys, you want to come inside?" And we were like, "Oh wow, sure, why not?" And then we just had a basic check, and then we were inside, and then we got to shoot. So those things did happen, but those I think are in the past. That is no longer the case right now. These days, it's more you need to work with the public affairs, or you need to have a good contact. But then again, you have some restrictions on what you can do with like your photos taken from your contact versus the public affairs.
Hmm.
But it's a much more organized thing. It's no longer like that ad hoc thing that
Yeah,
was there. But yeah, for some things like just base visits or whatever, that I think it's okay. But if you have like the book I did on the on the aggressors, that had to go all the way up to the Secretary of the Air Force
Wow.
for them to kind of justify that yeah, we need to put public affairs investment, because the public affairs guys need to escort me wherever I go on the base, right?
Yeah.
So again, and the public affairs office, it's not like they are very busy in their world. They are also trying to create the content, get the stories out, and in quick manner and all that. And then apart from that, they need to babysit people like us.
Mm.
So it's a much more organized thing, and again, you might get clearances from top, but then actually comes down to like, okay, how much time and resources does a public affairs office on that base have to support you for the days that you are coming in?
Yeah.
So, like you might have a green flag right through, like from the brass down, but it all comes down to, hey, do I have the manpower at the base at the time that I'm looking for? So sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. And if they don't, then you just don't, that's fine. It's just, pure bad timing, bad luck, whatever. And then we move on,
Yeah.
attack it at a different time. But yeah, it's no longer like a walk in the park where you just say, hi, I'm coming in with the camera, taking some shots and
Yeah.
getting some shots. No, you need to do some amount of legwork right now.
No, I mean, even before you apply to the Air Force or whatever, nowadays, I mean, the way you put it, nowadays you need decent magazine accreditation or credentials, and for that you need good proven work.
Yes,
Otherwise, you're not going to get it.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
you need some kind of like even for the magazines to give you accreditation, you need to have serious work, previous serious work that you have done for them to
Hmm.
give you endorsement. So yeah, all those things do count.
Okay, so obviously by '08 you've been aside and you had your own book and you've done plenty of stuff.
Hmm.
So at what point of time did you decide like, okay, I'm going to do air to air now? And how did you get that idea?
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like so, from that 2006 onwards, I did a whole lot of air shows, and 2008 was awesome because it gave me access to the air side during an exercise.
Hmm.
That was my first time, like during a red flag, that I got airside access and all that stuff. So now, like now like a tiger which has licked human blood or whatever, right? I'm now like, oh, I need to do more exercise stuff and not like air shows is
Bloodlust,
fine.
yeah.
Huh?
The bloodlust, yeah.
Whatever. So it's like, yeah, no, I because the air shows were kind of becoming a monotonous, right? You see the same players do the same things, yeah, maybe different lighting or different weather, but it's kind of the same act everywhere you go. So then I was like, yeah, fine. Uh, I have this, like, I've been doing this air shows for so much time now. Let me do some exercises. So I did some exercises in between, and I met, like, I remember a trip in 2008. Me along with, there was another couple of Japanese, one was local. We used to call him Taka. I forgot his full name. And then there was one in, I think, Kansas or somewhere, or Kentucky, Atsu. So we both said, and again we met on fence check, and we were like, okay, Quebec is having their 400th anniversary or something, and there were like 4 or 5 aerobatic teams who are supposed to be there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
There's
so
that Red Arrow's documentary on it also. Danger
yeah,
Man, something like that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So there were like
Yeah.
Thunderbirds, Blue Angels, Snowbirds, Red Arrows, and then I think the French guys were supposed to be there, but they canceled. Something happened. But yeah, there were like 5 teams were supposed to be there, out of that which 4 came. So we were there, and we were shooting stuff along with. There's another guy I see with a huge 500 millimeter lens and shooting, and then obviously, as with like-minded guys, we start talking, and then we keep sharing information, and then he turned out to be Eric Pickelsberg. So uh, he met me there. We started talking, and then there was nothing like air to air or whatever at that point of time. This was 2008, and then we kept in touch, via email, whatever. And then in 2010, I received an email saying, hey, I'm putting up kind of an air-to-air academy kind of a program.
No
So,
issue.
I'm doing this academy thing, air-to-air stuff. Would you be interested? So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So let me see if I can just shut this thing off.
It's
Okay.
fine. It's fine if beauty calls you.
Yeah, no worries. I think it's fine. So and I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? But then in 2010, I couldn't go due to some personal emergencies. So 2011 was it, and then I made the plans. I went there, and that's like I would say it's not like a tiger licking human blood. It's more like a drug habit. Um,
Yeah.
that air to air thing is like addictive. If you don't have it for a long amount of time, then you start getting the shivers, all that stuff. Because it's a totally different thing to see an aircraft up in the sky, right? You are also up in the sky, and then it's a different perspective. It's a different.
Yeah, and formation and all these things. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So that kind of that was like a different world out there. So then that's when I said that, okay, you know what, I need to do something niche. Even inside all this layers of photography, I want to do something niche. I don't want to do this. So then I was like, okay, fine. So kind of prioritization on, okay, I won't do these air shows. I might save money for the air to air event, going there, coming back, and all the logistics. But then that's how the air to air thing started, and I was like, wow, yeah, this is a different thing. I want to get good at it. So yeah,
So this was 2011.
this was 2011. That was my first air to air. Yeah,
So because I've seen photos of on your smug mug from a KC 135. When was that?
yeah, that was 2012. I think red flag 2012-2, I believe. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that's when I got the chance to go up with a KC 135. Got some eagles, got some vipers, and
Wow.
yeah, that was a different shoot as well, because shooting from a tanker is totally different from like just shooting from an open sky van or a Bonanza or something. So I got, like, again, thanks to the internet, all the other guys, Kevin Jackson from UK. Um, I kind of those are kind of like the veterans of KC 135. So I got a whole lot of tips from them. Like, hey, what do I need to be to be prepared for? What are the considerations? And then he gave me a whole lot of tips and all that stuff. So that all panned out.
Yeah. So obviously now you've gone into air to air,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, see, I don't know if I should say studying your work, but I've been studying your work since like 2004 on SmugMug, 2004 and 8 and 12 and now. There's
Mm-hmm.
obviously a progression in your composition and your editing and all these things. How did you learn? Because uh, in an interview with the aviationist, Tom
Mm-hmm.
Demerly, you said that you use now Nick plugins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So obviously to get to that point, you had a long journey. How did that happen?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. If you and one, obviously you need to start with a great aptitude, that
Hmm.
you are never the guru, you are never the master, you are always a student.
Yeah.
That means when you consider yourself a student, that means you are constantly learning, constantly evolving, right? So that is what you need to do. So that's what I did. Like, of course, when I didn't know, how to, I just knew how to push that, shutter button with the camera on. From there to getting the camera settings right, prop blurs, or when to use f8, when to use f4, all those kind of things, right? Aperture settings,
Yeah.
low light, ISO, and then obviously along with the technology, along with the years, and technology got great, in like the ISO performances, right? The noise went drastically down right now, compared to like cameras in 2004 or 6, when that was like the first age of digital SLRs coming out. So according to like the means of taking photos, the means of editing the photos also kind of evolved, right? So
Yeah.
I think I was using Capture NX at the time I started. Again, with going back and forth with Glenn on editing techniques and all that stuff. So I learned something from there. Then I started using Aperture in between. So again, kind of figuring out, learning from the internet, some videos. And then there was a good workshop that the 3G guys did in, I believe, 2014 or 13. I'm not sure. But that was a great, photography workshop for like aviation photographers. It was not like normally you will find photography workshops like they start with portrait or landscape, and
Yeah.
then you need to kind of map it to, hey, what am I doing here? Right? But that was like for aviation photographers by aviation photographers. So it was kind of a great. And then they went through they shared their workflows through Lightroom, I think at that time. So again, you kind of keep getting ideas, keep trying out new softwares that come out, some of the new presets that are there in Lightroom, So and then the other thing is like my vision of photography is not just taking a photo and then maybe I just do like color corrections, contrast, sharpness, and there you go. For me, a photo is more like there should be some reaction out of a
Yeah.
guy who sees that photo. It's not a documentary photo. So if there is a gorgeous sunset or a sunrise or just cloud formations, then I want to bring that up. Right? I want to like bring that whole beauty that I saw in my photo, so that when people see it, are like, wow, this was actually there. So
Yeah.
that's what my vision is. So then I kind of keep striving, and then obviously with with again the power of social media like Facebook, you have all these groups. You have like Instagram as well, and then like that creative aviation photography. That is some awesome group where people come out with like different editing techniques, lighting techniques, and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
you kind of look at that and think, okay, that's an interesting thing. How can I kind of emulate that? Or
Yeah.
I like this one, maybe I'll try to emulate that. So it's always like being open to ideas and trying out things, because this is again digital photography, right? You can muck around with a picture all day long and you can just throw it out, or you can reset the picture, right? It's not
Exactly.
going to do any harm.
Yeah. But what I find with the best aviation photographers, it's not just about aircraft for you guys. Obviously, yes, we were talking about editing and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain, you guys bring out a certain human, that there's a pilot in the aircraft, that is just not a
Mm-hmm.
machine which is flying at high speed or taking off at burners or whatever.
Right.
In most of your photos, there's a pilot present. You can see him through the canopy and he's
Mm-hmm.
making that blue fox sign or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something's going on. Like, how did you gain that inspiration? Like, I want to show the human aspect in flying.
Right. Again, like going out with like groups like photo calls, fence check, and then obviously we have co-op right now, and then I've just kind of like Steve Comer and Cooper, um, their Rich Cooper's stuff. They have like they go on different photo calls.
Yeah.
They get those different angles with humans. Just showing squadron, memorabilia and all that stuff, right? So yeah, so you kind of again, as I said, you go to these different events, see other guys' work, what are they capturing, what are they doing, and then you kind of cater for that. So it's kind of the same thing that I did for that book with the 64th aggressors. It's like it started out as basically a book for them,
This is the book,
for
guys.
yeah,
By the way.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Lucky to have a copy.
yeah, I know. So yeah, it started off with the book only for those guys. So then it's kind of documenting what their environment looks like. So it was not just like F-16 photos of camo shots and all that. As you
Yeah,
can see,
yeah.
you'll see people briefing. You'll see
That,
like
like, this is the first shot, and it's of a pilot. So, it definitely comes out.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That
it's like this stuff, which brings out the imagination.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. Like so, it's just evolution again. Like you kind of keep tuning your ideas, if you will,
Mm.
right, on stuff. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think you've mentioned it to me before, but some of that learning curve has also been meeting Jose Ramos, Fuji Ramos,
yeah,
because a lot of his stuff also involves the pilots, and obviously he's been shooting for the US Navy for a long, long time
right,
now.
right.
So,
In fact,
so
yeah, I think at the same workshop that we had with 3G, I remember meeting Jose for the first time, meeting Fuji for the first time, and then we have always kept in touch. He in fact again introduced me to this the flash photography with Nikon flashes,
yeah,
and that was great. Like and again, like I'm again open to kind of shooting new with new stuff. Like yeah, for night photography you have light painting. You open the camera for 15 seconds, paint the subject, and you got your shot. But I kind of feel like that the flash thing is it's more involved. It's much more a bit technical, and you can keep your ISOs low, and then you can get your shots if you have them. If you have the flash kept in the right positions. So in fact, it was like awesome for him to set out time for me when I was in Florida for my company work. It was kind of the end of the day, or end of the event, and then I was supposed to go home the next day. And then he said, "Yeah, why don't you come down? Well, let's spend an hour or so. I can give you a quick tutorial on how to use this." So like again, like I have been kind of blessed by guys like all these guys, right?
yeah.
Fuji, Rich, Peter Lewis from Switzerland. I kind of love his work as well. Obviously, Katsu is like the overall, overarching stuff. But yeah, exactly. But these people have been like kind of forthcoming and sharing. So and then it's all again, it's just having time of your life when you are out shooting. So yeah, you kind of you learn a lot, like different techniques, different stuff. That's how you do it.
So, so let's take a question in between. Ash Blog writes, "What is the name of the book and is it available?" The name of the book is Bandits of Mojave.
Yeah.
I'd be tough to be inverted. But is the book available anymore?
I don't know. Like I ran out of all the copies because it's a self-published book. So I didn't I don't have like thousands of copies there. But again, based on request, I might give it another print run if I have to. It depends on how much the print run is. Um,
Yeah.
but like I can take it through another print run if the number is right. The number
Yeah.
is right. Exactly. Yeah.
We both know photo key, so I'm going to ignore his question. And 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 so, what is the like the base amount of books you need for a second run of printing?
Yeah, I think it's almost like a 50 to 100 number is good, especially from keeping the cost down. If I
Yeah,
try to do individuals, then obviously the cost is more.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe you can think about a second run. Who knows?
yeah, exactly. If I have more interest, then I can probably give it for a
Yeah.
run.
So okay, so let's move on to your gear. So what I know you're a Nikon guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Canon guy. So nothing against you, but anyway, so let's see what gear you have in your bag, what cameras, what lenses. So let's
Yeah,
start with the lenses first.
yeah. So lenses, it's again different. I've got like a 500 prime. I've got a 400 prime. A 7200, the 200, 500, 5.6, which is a great lens. I recently got the 500 PF,
Hmm.
which is almost kind of the size of a 7200, but way, way lighter than a 7200.
Okay.
It is unbelievably lighter than a,
Yeah.
so it's great for travel.
Yeah.
Um, and then obviously the 24 to 120 for the wide angles, and then for the for the for the air-to-air as well and for general purpose. I also carry the 14-24, which is again great for wide angles on the ground, especially doing some night shoots. That I did with the Ghost. Uh, scheme camo Viper.
Yeah. Yep.
60. Yeah.
That involved flash photography. So
Yeah, exactly. That's where I
yeah.
use the flash photography there.
Yeah. So let's take. So what about your camera body, by the way?
Yeah, camera body.
Do you
It's
have it with you right now?
yeah, like I have. It's kind of mated in the lens, but then as you can see, uh, that's a Nikon D850. That's the
Okay.
500 that I just got it for a recent trip. But I think the D850 is awesome camera because it's full frame um, and high speed. Previously, like before the D850 came on the scene, I used to have a D4S for the speed and a D810 for the megapixels. And then I used to have a crop. And before the D500 came, there was I believe, a D7 7200. I think I had. But then after that, when the D850 came on the scene, I no longer have the need for keeping a D4S and a D810 because the D850, combines both the megapixels as well as the speed. And then I have the D500, which is uh, a great again kind of akin to the D2 XS that I had before. So it's kind of the same performance. I recently got a mirrorless Z7 or Z7
Hmm.
from Nikon, and it's not the same as DSLR. You kind of need to
Okay.
get used to the eccentricities, or it's a new mechanism. It's a new
Yeah.
camera, so it's not like whatever I learned in the DSLR world, I'll just do the same. So you need to.
Hmm.
I'm kind of taking it for learning on how these things are evolving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. Again, even in the Canon world now, they've introduced the R series, and that's how they're moving towards it. But I'm more biased towards DSLRs. I have not got my hands on a RCD, so I can't really put a
Hmm.
judgment out on it. But let's see how it
Yeah.
goes. So other than Bandits of Mojave, and now you recently got a AFM article based called Bandits of the Last Frontier. Is that right?
Yeah, um, that was on that is on the Alaskan aggressor squadron.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of interesting because when I went to the 64 to distribute my book, the CEO of the Alaskan guys was there, and he saw the book and was like, "Hey, can you do the same for my squadron?"
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I can." Uh, but then this time, and again, as I said, like it's all the luck of the draw. This
Yeah.
time I couldn't get clearances for that book, but they were still like, "Hey, if you can still come with a magazine article, idea, we can still entertain you." So I was like, okay, fine. So yeah, that's how that thing happened. So it's part one is published, I think, in April, the issue of Air Forces Monthly, and then the next part is going to come in the next issue of Air Forces Monthly. Yeah.
So I think we can finally take photo keys question.
Hmm.
Is there a blackout in burst mode, burst shoot in Z7? Have you tried it?
Yeah. So that's like, yeah, with all the other uh, lack of, I would say it's the like right now the way it is, the Z7, I don't think so. It's useful for stuff like aviation photography because of one of the things is the blackout time during panning. But then one of the other senior photographers in India, who I think is a Nikon ambassador, Ashok Kandimala, I think he and me, we exchanged some emails, and he gave me some settings, and I tried those settings at home, where they significantly reduce the blackout time.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll, like, once this whole Corona thing gets out, and then we are back in our world, then I might try those settings out and let you guys know.
Yep. So let's start taking questions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we had one from just hold on. Sorry. Yeah. So we have one question which had gone before. Colin says, "Can you guys help me? I just started with photography and want guidance. So, any good advice for a up and coming photographer who just started out?"
Like aviation photography, or
Yeah,
just
maybe aviation as well. I mean,
yeah,
our
because
focus is in
that's
aviation.
yeah,
Mine's something in sports, but anyway.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think in aviation, like especially in India, I would that's what I say to everyone. It's like basically like there is restrictions in India, and all for the right reasons. I won't you know refute them. I won't
Mm.
kind of dispute them as well. There are those security considerations that we normally as citizens don't think about it, but then for the guys who think crookedly, there are ways that they can do it. So even when I come down to India, I'm not like outside airports, taking pictures. I just don't do it. So again, for the guys who are just starting out, best thing, and again because of all the power of the social media, the best thing is trying to do what I think they have a group in Bangalore. I think who works with the airport authority to get a group of guys started.
Uh, yeah, but at last I heard, I think there's some issue considering that the airport is expanding. So
Mhm.
they had that platform which was pushed back, so it's not been put up again.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay,
not sure of the whole entire situation, but I don't think they're hosting
oh, okay,
photographers right now. Yeah.
okay. Or the other thing is like just wait till stuff happens like Aero India or
Yeah.
like
You
yeah,
wait.
like what can we do, right? It's
Yeah.
really kind of sad, but it is again the way it is. We cannot differentiate between who the enemy is, so you never know. So yeah, but just for like photography, there are so many things that you can try out. Like when I started to learn photography, I took a digital camera, or previously when I used to shoot film or
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah.
I used to like, shoot everything, note down the settings, shoot another shot, note down the settings, give that, thing for development. And when it comes back, then you kind of again, write those settings on those slides so that you know that that this shot was taken at this setting and this shot was taken
Yeah.
at this other setting. And then you
Yeah.
try to kind of learn. Whereas with digital, there's a whole lot of advantages where you've got, instant feedback that
Mm.
hey, I took this picture at f4, this picture at f10. What is the difference, right? It's instantly you learn that thing instantly. So I would say I got a book from like Barnes and Nobles on the basic stuff of photography like shutter aperture, lighting and
Yeah.
all that. Just gave it a read through, and then I actually tried it out. Once one evening, put the digital camera on a tripod and just went through all like aperture settings, aperture priority, shutter priority, exposure, all the stuff like what affected what in the scene that I was shooting. So I was shooting a constant scene, but at different settings and trying to find out what is the difference.
Yeah.
So if you just want to learn those kind of things, digital cameras are perfect for that, right?
What I realized was because I was facing the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was living before, it was really not possible, even though I was really close to an airport.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to decide on how to improve in photography without getting locked up. So I decided I was going to go into sports, and then I was lucky to get a job where I'm shooting golf, I'm shooting tennis, I'm shooting football, and obviously it's not machines. People are moving all the time, but you get to practice composition,
Yeah.
and you get to work on photos because these photos get published. I'm lucky to
Right.
say that these get published, so the practice is constantly there, so you get to
Yeah.
improve that way. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I think one of
yeah.
the other things that people can also do is, visit their Air Force museums if there are like locally, publicly accessible,
The one
static
in Delhi,
aircraft.
yeah.
Yeah, or in Delhi. Then in and I do frequently go to museums because it restricts uh, my the things that I can do normally. So it forces me into okay, I'm forced into a corner. How can I get a picture out of this stuff right now?
Yeah.
So it kind of forces you to think creatively outside the box. That oh, maybe I can try this angle, or maybe I can tilt the camera this way, and I can accommodate the whole aircraft, or whatever it is, or I can step back, or I can like not necessarily every shot has to be like near the aircraft. Sometimes you might get shots by stepping kind of way in the back, and then you like okay, this is an angle that I can take. So it kind of forces you to think outside the box. So which is a good exercise for your brain as well, right? From a
Yeah.
creative point of view.
Yeah. So I think that answered Colin's question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, next is Harshit tags air to air. What's best, especially from a fighter cockpit which has glare. I don't think you've done air to. Have you done air to air from fighter cockpit?
Just
Del
once,
39, I
and
guess.
like not like with the L-39 and then the MiG-21, the shoot that I did in Houston last year. So yes, so we had those. In fact, this was given to me by one of the friends last year. Like we have those what they call the shrouds of the hood
The
thingy.
skirt, lens skirt.
Yeah, the lens skirt, or yeah, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
There's one which is like a bit flimsy. There's another one which is kind of it is a cheap Chinese version, but it's kind of rigid, so it kind of stays there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I used like two things. One is I used that just to reduce glare and all that. But the second thing also I kind of took care was I just wore a black overall uh, with nothing on it, like no tags or nothing. I wore black gloves on both of my fingers. Obviously, it being Nikon, it's a dark body, so I'm covered there. Uh, but then again,
Dark lenses, dark body, everything's there.
but then I kind of even like taped out the white Nikon thing which is there on the D850. I
With
kind
the
of
logo,
taped
yeah.
it with black tape as well. So that way I kind of made sure that there are at least no reflections from my body inside the cockpit, right? So I've taken some of the shots with the. So I took two cameras up. I had the D850 with that lens skirt or whatever, and then I had the Z7 or the Z7 without just a lens with nothing on it. And since I took the care of of all doing these things, and kind of taking the lens a bit like closer to the canopy, not like shooting from the seat, but just so that you take it a bit closer so that it doesn't scratch the canopy, but just enough, so you kind of keep your hand in front of the lens, and then you kind of go like that and shoot. So that way also, it there are some ways that you can reduce the glare.
Yeah, so Drew says pilots train in simulators. How do you practice so you have no hesitation at showtime? I think it goes to the same thing. Or practice, or other things and
Yeah.
all these things.
Or like having the briefings, especially like air to air, the time literally flies. When you say time flies, it literally flies.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to be clear about the briefings. The let the pilots do their own briefing for their figuring out the airspace, comms, procedures, emergency procedures, and all that. And then you have your creative brief. So that's one thing that I learned a whole lot of stuff from like Scott Slocum, which whom I fly with for
Yeah.
most of the US, air to air, and especially with the warbirds, because I kind of love only two things in aviation. One is warbirds, and one is the military, types. Civilians, like if I am there, I will shoot them, but I won't go especially for civilians. So that's kind of different take. But like with Scott, I have literally like again grown as an aviation photographer as well, because every time like he forces us to like he will brief certain things that hey, these are the shots that we will take, but then basically he will say like, okay, I'm going to bring that aircraft in this view, and then you guys decide on how to fine tune what the shot you want. So you need to be like very clear on your head, in your head at least, that hey, these are the shots I want. And again, to make it easy, you need to kind of rethink that hey, if if I want to start from the fighter coming kind of from a bit far, and I want to kind of move him in those positions. If that's easier for the pilot to do that, then I will move him around at that spot, then bring him near, and then kind of fine tune. Otherwise, going back and forth, and it's kind of human nature as well, right? Like it's very tiresome flying in formation. First of all, like just formation flight for the pilots itself is stressful. The photo flying is totally different than formation flying, which is again stressful. Like I have been in situations where pilots were up there like at least for 30-40 minutes, and they have landed back like sweating literally, because it's a whole lot of like your CPU is in overdrive for most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maintaining speed, distance, airspeed so that you don't stall, safety issues and all that stuff. So it's a very stressful affair. So if you are kind of efficient in your brief on what shots you want and what sequence you want in, then it's easier on everyone. If you're not sure, then it's like, it's human nature. It's like, yeah, I don't think so. This guy knows what he's doing. I'm not going to, be in this for long. So then whatever you say, they will just say, unable. And then it's no fun then. But yeah, you have to be like with air-to-air especially, very, very, demanding. And you have to be like really top of the game. You need to know what you are doing.
So that's great answer. Second question from Ash blog. Love Kedar's work, hats off. My question is whether you have a composition already in your mind, or is it spontaneous when you arrive at the place and then create the composition? Very general question, but tough for people to wrap their mind around.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Sometimes you will you have some shots in your mind, of course, and that's what I say. Right, it always starts like most of the shots. I would say 80% of the shots. You have shots in the mind, and you start executing accordingly. 20% of the shots are like I would say like another 15% shots are spontaneous. That means you are walking, and suddenly you're like, oh, wait a minute, it suddenly hits you. Yeah, there's a shot here.
Brainwave, yeah.
Yeah, and then 5% of the shots are kind of post the whole event. When you are kind of looking at it in your big screen, and you are like, oh, wait a minute, there is a shot here, At that point of time, like sometimes, like in recently, I was digging through my archives in my Greek, shoot from the Skyman last year. And there was a shot I took, which was kind of like a vertical shot or whatever of the Phantom. And it just had like some of the tail and, all that. And I kind of came home, I forgot. And going through the archives, like when I went through the shots for the first time, I had forgotten for what intention I had taken the shot. I'm like, I'll let it be there. Like I'll come to it later. And it's only in like when like in this I think December holidays or whatever. That's why oh, now I remember why I took that shot. Right. So some of those shots are like post shots where you kind of like, yeah, I don't know why I took the shot, but then you think of it from a different mind, different angle. Then it's like, there's a shot. This shot is like one of the great examples I can give is a Chinook shot that I've from 2012 or I think it was 2012 back in the day, and I had kept that shot for like deletion because it didn't have certain things. So fortunately, I didn't delete it, but I had marked it for deletion. And I was going through the archives, and I'm like, wait a minute, why did I put this shot for deletion? There is this this angle over here, and it was like a great angle. So like sometimes you revisit and you rethink from a different frame of mind. So it all depends upon so some are pre-thought, some are like spontaneous, and then some are like post, like where you take a shot, but then you're like, wait a minute, I can do this, I can do that, and I can still create this good
just 1 second, showing some kind of a timer. So we'll stop this session and come back on. Maybe it's saying maybe it's reached this data.
So the story.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks back, I think it was during Red Flag 2022. I was supposed to be there for week 2, and with all this corona thing, it threw a spanner in my whole plans. So I drive
So I
down
drive
Thursday
down
night to
Thursday night
Vegas.
to Vegas.
Friday,
Friday,
take
take
some
some
shots
shots
in like
in
shite
like
weather.
shite weather.
50 shades of
50
grey.
shades of grey.
Yeah.
And
And
Saturday, Sunday, I
Saturday,
camp
Sunday,
out
I camp out
in the hopes
in
of
the hopes of
Monday or
Monday
Tuesday
or
launch.
Tuesday launch.
So
So
I'm the next whole
the
week
next whole
I'm
week
planning to
I'm
be there
planning
in
to be there
Vegas.
in Vegas.
So on Monday
So on Monday
morning,
morning,
the plans
the
change
plans change
to
to
let me get out
let me get out
here
here
Thursday
Thursday
instead of Friday.
instead of Friday.
So towards
So
Monday
towards Monday
afternoon,
afternoon,
it's like
it's like
let me get out
let me get
Wednesday.
out Wednesday.
I think that should be
I think
good.
that should be good.
By
By
from like
from
Monday
like Monday
afternoon to
afternoon
12 o'clock to
12
3
o'clock to
o'clock,
3 o'clock,
I'm like,
I'm like,
I'll get out
I'll
Tuesday
get out
night.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
That will be better.
That will be better.
I'm
I'm
attending online
attending online
meetings with
meetings
office,
with office,
and one of the guys
and one of
posted
the
that
guys
we have
posted
this
we have
shelter in
this shelter
place
in
in the Bay
place
Area.
in Bay Area.
Like shit,
Like
things
shit,
are
like things are
really
like
going
really going
serious.
serious.
So
So like,
let me
let me
attend this
attend
meeting,
this meeting,
grab a couple of
grab a
hours
couple
sleep,
of hours sleep,
and then
and
start
then
driving
start
in the
driving
night,
in the night,
like Monday night
like Monday
itself.
night itself.
Yeah.
So I ping a couple
So I
of my
ping a couple of
friends,
my friends,
and they
and they
tell me
tell me
that there's a
that
highway
there's
that
a
I need to
highway that I need to
cross
cross
between like the
between
Sierra
like the
Nevadas.
Sierra Nevadas.
I'm smiling because I know the end of the story. So
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
there's
so like
some
there's some
snowfall
snowfall
advisory in
advisory
effect,
in effect,
like since 10
like
o'clock
since 10
that
o'clock
Monday
that
morning.
Monday morning.
I'm like,
I'm
shit,
like, shit, like,
this is like
this is like
really bad.
really bad.
yeah.
And I would
And I would
rather make the
rather make
crossing
the
in
crossing
daylight
in daylight
than
than
at night.
than at night.
So then after the
So then
meeting, I
after the
just
meeting, I
throw
just throw
everything in the bag.
everything in the bag.
Bring it in,
Bring it
pack
in,
it up,
pack it up,
tell
tell the
the hotel
guy, the
guy
hotel
that hey,
guy that hey,
I'm checking out.
checking out.
And he was like, yeah,
And he was
that's
like, yeah,
fine.
that's fine.
Yeah, we do
Yeah, we
understand.
do understand.
So he just
So he just
charged me for
charged
about
me
one
for
night.
about one night.
And then I began
Then
my
I began
8 hour
my
drive
8 hour
back
drive
home.
back home.
And then there was a
And then there
snowfall
was a
in between,
snowfall
of
in between,
course.
of course.
But
that
yeah,
that would have been
I
fun.
did the
Yeah, I
crossing in
did
the
the
day.
crossing in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah,
that's
that's
some of the things.
some of the things.
The plans
The plans
totally
totally
change.
change.
You just can't do anything about it.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
right.
he's right.
So Ash Blog again has a question of which I'll only take the second part. And I'm going to answer that. Kedar, do you think that it's all the gear one owns or a lot of human effort with basic gear too? So now, if Ash is talking about the effort it takes to carry Kedar's gear, I can testify. Because I was like 13 years old or something like that when you asked me to like join you, and I was carrying your bag, and it almost killed me after 2 hours. Yeah, now I can hopefully do it now, but yes, it takes an effort. And if it's technique wise, because I can clearly say, because I started out really slow with hardly any cameras. You can see my cameras behind. Hardly any cameras, hardly any gear. Yes, it takes an effort, but if you have, but not a lot of people use their gear up to the maximum potential. That's what I think. I think not a lot of people explore the extremities completely.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, I
just
think it's just
knowing your gear
knowing your gear
Yeah.
and the
and the
limitations and the
limitations and the
strengths,
strengths,
and you can
and
exploit
you can
that to the
exploit that to
maximum.
the maximum.
Yeah. Because I know so many people who just I have nothing against them, but you have to like move on. You have to learn new things. You have to improve. You have to work on editing, your composition, whatever it might be. You have to work on it. But a lot of people stick to their original game plan and they keep on shooting, and posting is fine. You get great likes on social media, but if you really want to work, really want to improve as a photographer, you need to experiment and practice.
Yeah, there's no growth
There's no growth
otherwise.
otherwise.
Yeah, people, you will just not learn. It's like with anything in life, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, by the way, Paras also asked this question: how is it shooting in Star Wars Canon, and is it open again? Because I think there was a Super Hornet crash there, an unfortunate crash.
Yeah, there are
there are some reports
that some
that
Hornets
some
went by,
Hornets went by,
but I don't
but
think
I
so.
don't think
It's
so.
up for
It's
like
up for
prime time.
like prime time.
Yeah.
It's
I don't think
still
they're
closed.
going to.
Still closed.
Plus, I heard a couple of people got injured when the crash happened. So, bystanders.
Yeah, there were some
Yeah, there
French
are some French
tourists.
tourists.
Yeah.
So
Like even though there
like
might
even
be
though there
no
might be no
times,
times,
but I think
but I
individual
think individual
squadrons are
squadrons are
kind of
kind of
preventing any
preventing any
overflights.
overflights.
Yeah. Really unfortunate accident. Guy didn't make it. But let's move on. And so I guess we are at the end of our whole chat because my list here says that I have no questions remaining.
Okay,
And nobody's
that's cool.
posting any questions, so I don't know what to.
No, I think it's
I think
been
it's
an hour
been
as
an
well.
hour as
So
well.
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's okay.
So we've already given advice. You've given advice to photographers watching. And but before I let you go, favorite aircraft to shoot, and because I know that you used to fly, favorite aircraft you would have liked to fly.
Okay, so before I
So
take
before
that,
I
there's
take
one
that, there's
good
one
question
good
about
question about
filters.
filters.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
And I don't use
I
any
don't use
filters.
any filters.
That kind of just
Reduces
reduces
the light
and the speed.
and the
So
speed.
it's just
So it's just
plain
plain
lens.
lens.
Favorite aircraft
Favorite
to shoot.
aircraft to shoot.
I can give you a
I
top
can
gun
give you a
answer.
top gun answer.
What?
The list is
The
long but
list is long but
distinguished.
distinguished.
That was not what I was expecting. But
But yeah, there's
there's so
many.
many.
Uh, but like I would have
I would have
the one of the great
one
shoot
of the
was
great shoot
getting a
was the getting a
blackbird
blackbird
in Afterburner.
in Afterburner.
wow,
That would have been
That
great.
would have been great.
yeah. And Saurabh is asking one question. Just out of curiosity, does Kedar also do any astrophotography? And how is it different from aviation photography?
So just to answer
the question,
I
I
don't do any
don't
other
do any other
photography
photography than
than like military
like
aviation
military
and
aviation and
warbirds.
warbirds.
No portraits,
That's
no
right.
landscapes,
landscapes,
no astro.
no astro.
That's why he's so good at it.
Like my brain only
My
works
brain only works
when there's a
when
plane.
there's a plane.
Yeah.
Things with wings.
Things with wings.
Yeah. But okay. So I guess this is a great session, and I hope that we'll do many more. And hopefully, Praveen just joined. Really unfortunate, but we are ending the session. Hi, Praveen.
Hey, Praveen. Hey, Praveen.
And but I think we'll have to end it now. And hopefully we'll be able to do soon. Let's see when we can make that
I
happen.
think it's a good effort.
It's a good effort.
Yeah.
Minus the technical glitches.
We'll figure that out.
Cool, guys.
Right? Cool. Take care in the US. The situation is getting a little bad over there.
Yeah.
Sit tight.
Yeah, so everyone, be well.
Be
Take
well.
care.
Yeah. Take care. Thanks a lot, Kedar.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.